I've got divorced and bought the flat upstairs, turned 50. I think it is this sort of deadly age that's coming towards you and you feel like you're going to sort of wizen overnight and turn into an old lady. And that doesn't happen, and it was really fantastic actually. I just sort of felt much more grounded and myself and grown up. It's certainly 10 or 12 years since I first decorated this flat. And before it was really the sort of pulled together flat that I'd made when I was single into a family home. It didn't work anymore. It wasn't fit for purpose. When we did the renovation, Margot and I went around the house photographing all the bits that we liked. It was quite emotional. There wasn't the sadness of leaving a place, but I was aware that we were going to be sort of rubbing a lot out. The major change was buying the flat upstairs. It was really the connecting of the two flats. So we've got 2 bedrooms upstairs, and now the ground floor is all living space. I couldn't do anything until I was divorced. That gave me all this time to work out where everything was going to go and imagining that life being lived. In this house, the palette, when all of my packets were out on the table, they all run together like a sort of river, while each room has quite a different feeling. The first thing I started with was this Rose Cummings chintz. And I love having a sort of hero fabric that will bring everything together. And then I was worried it was getting a bit old and a bit sort of fuddy. So I've got this lovely olive Name Same on the chair. And then I used this zebra to try and give it a bit of fun. It's a very old American print, and it sort of also reminded me of those sort of old Upper East Side apartments. And then I brought in my batik that I've just done for Schumacher. And I love the batiks because they just do slip in everywhere. These cushions, weirdly, are sort of old friends. I quite like those surprises, the things that you weren't planning on. Well, I knew when I moved back that I didn't want to just smother the walls again with pictures like I'd done before, and that I wanted it to be a bit more spare. You start with one. I wanted to put this big picture that Honor, my best friend, had given me when I married. I loved those very fluorescent colours on the brown. So I started with that and then had these quite contemporary things either side. I changed the fireplace and put in a chair rail. We changed the doors. They were really too small for the room, and it took me quite a long time to realise, when I moved in, it wasn't something I was paying attention to. And as time went by, so I was like, oh, these doors are so mean in this big room. This was one of the big changes, these panelled reveals. And when people walk in here, they're always like, oh my God, I feel like I've just walked into a house in the country. And that, I think, is the subliminal feeling of these panels. So there are lots of things that you sort of barely notice, but they make a huge difference. So this is just the next turn of the dial of depth and luxury and sophistication. And so that was what I really wanted to be able to show in a room rather than on a sample. Especially the specialist painting in here, which is this very pretty and very delicate sort of combed faux bois. I put this bookcase in. That had been a chest of drawers before with a picture above it. This time we did these French doors, which has made a huge difference because the garden was quite cut off from the sitting room. Previously, the dining room table was here. This was the kitchen and main entrance. So I started with this wallpaper, which was designed by a friend of mine, Mia Ray. I loved that burnt orange and the black. That was a quick, easy decision. I met Russell Pinch actually at the House and Garden Awards, and I was chatting to him because I'd wanted some of that mid-century sectional shelving, and so we hatched a plan to do one together. I wanted a bit where I could have a bar. He suggested putting this peach mirror behind it. It sits so well with the colours of the room, it's really clever. When this plan started, I took this wall down and made this one big dining room. And basically what I wanted was a dining room with a kitchen in it, so that I could have a lot of people for dinner. I suppose the other challenge / thing I really wanted for this room was for it to be a room rather than a laboratory kitchen. So the wallpaper was key. And the thing I love about Antoinette Poisson is that their colours are so sophisticated. I did these colours with plain English, and this one is called Burnt Toast, this very dark purple. And then this beautiful marble that I got from Lapicida in Harrogate. We did this wall of cupboards with plain English. It's so nice having space for everything. And so the toaster's in here and all the pasta and the staircase you can see. The windows always had those curtains. This is a wool, quite a heavy blanketing wool from C&C Milano. I think I spent 8 months paying for them. They were, funny enough, incredibly easy to work with. I think it's a really good red. It's quite a rich red. It's not a sort of ambulance red. This sofa is really lovely because actually it's a sofa I bought in my first apartment in New York. And so I upholstered it this is one of my new fabrics for Schumacher. It's called Elizabeth chintz. The dining room table is one of the pieces I designed for Officina Inglesa. I like this very solid top and this chamfered side, and then these very old chairs around it, and I do like that combination. And then this is a sort of old friend that was given to me by William Yeoward, and it's a piece that he'd bought in Marseille. And I love these sort of straps. That's, of course, a brilliant piece of storage. This is a tiny space that I built on. And this room's sort of 7 foot by 10. It's mostly calls that I have in here. Therefore, it didn't need to be a bright white space with really good light. And I think you do want rooms to be somewhere you want to go, especially if you're going to have to work in them. Originally in this space, I was going to use a blue seagrass on the walls. I realised I needed to paint it. I didn't want to do it in a flat colour. And the nice thing about it, having a bit of a glaze, is that it's much stronger. Staircases take quite a bashing. I love this space actually because I like how it unifies the kitchen and the sitting room. So Margot, she did all these boards on Pinterest of what she wanted her room to look like. There was this one white room with this big rainbow rug. Margot's godfather is Peter Mikic, and he did the rug for her. And then her pink curtains with this trim from Christopher Farr. And then this was an old table of mine, which was all grey, sort of chipped old paint. And then we had that painted. And it's sort of fun in here, I think, with all these. It really does feel very rainbow. I really wanted this four-poster, which I just coveted forever. David Hicks, Billy Baldwin, Vir Grenny. I've always loved it. So that was a big splurge. So I'm so pleased with how that turned out. And being inside that bed is very calming and soothing and nice. And then the really grown-up thing, which I'm so pleased with, is having a dressing table, which does feel like a grown-up / princess moment. All that light on both sides, and I love that mirror, so that it's not that big mirror that then blocks the entire window, which is a sort of trouble I always find with putting dressing tables in front of windows. This bathroom, I can't really remember how we came to do the alcove for the bath. It's something I've always loved, and it feels very relaxing, and you actually taking time to have a bath rather than rushing to get out of the house to work. This basin I adapted from a piece of furniture I bought, which is up at North Farm, which is a table. I've done this for Officina Inglesa, which I love because it's got these fantastic deep drawers. This is also one of my wallpapers, and this is called Olive, that I've done for Schumacher. Bad taste sounds so much more fun than good taste, doesn't it? I think there's something very liberating about bad taste. Good taste gets put into quite a safe box. You need a bit of ugly to jar the good taste. And I do find that when I'm doing rims and it's all like, all goes together so nicely and is all feeling a bit prissy and pleased with itself. The zebra sofa, you've got to shove something in that's just gonna be a bit rude, but it's getting also your child's painted rock gift in the mix. It's part of your life. You can't just chuck everything out, I don't think. And I definitely think that's where the magic is in rooms.